welcome to Forever Unbreakable. Tonight I am joined by Joe Delagrave, and Joe's story is I've done now well over 20 podcasts, and I'm gonna probably have to put Joe's story of truly becoming unbreakable, from when he thought he was invincible to now. I would say without a doubt he knows that he is invincible. Is arguably the best, and if not, it is in a definite top 3 of people I podcasted, and it's going to be that way for a long, long time, I think. So, Joe, before we get into what happened to you, tell us a little bit about your life as a child, and kind of like getting accepted into college and knowing that you're going to college to play football. Like what was that experience life as a kid, before you were 19 and went through what you went through?
Yeah. So growing up, typical Midwest childhood upbringing, from a small little town on the Mississippi River called Prairie du Chien. And so went to school from 7th grade all the way through high school there, and kind of that's where I grew up. And blue collar town, everyone works for what they have, and no one ever takes anything for granted. And like for me growing up, it was just playing sports, right? Like basketball, football, baseball, track, swimming in middle school. I mean, everything that I could do and I'd love to do like choir and plays and musicals as well. So like whatever was around, like I did and stayed busy and loved doing it. And so that was kind of my upbringing. And as I went into high school and played football, and kind of my first love was basketball, and played that all the way through as well. And then obviously played football, and being 6'5", 6'6", 230, 240 pounds in high school, like it's something that catches the eye of recruiters and stuff like that. And so, really wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do moving into college, but I knew that I wanted to play a sport, and got recruited for basketball and for football, and decided to play football and go to Winona State, and just felt, it wasn't too far away from home, and I really liked the coach there, and the guy that recruited me I'm still friends with today, and him and I talk probably once a month still today. And so like it was just something that, it was like, all right, this is, what I've always dreamed of doing. And my cousins always they all 3 played Division I football, and really wanted to play football and kind of follow their lead. And like that was kind of like the big dream that I had. The big dream was college sports. I wasn't completely naive enough to be like, oh, I'm going to, play pro sports. Obviously every kid wants to growing up, but my big thing was like, all right, I really want to play college sports, college football. And so moving in from high school into college, it was like, all right, yeah, I get to kind of fulfill that dream and see where it takes me.
There, yeah, and so like you said, I mean, you could have gone to college to play football or basketball. So you were obviously, a superior athlete, and like, so you look at a lot of those people, it kind of reminds me of like the Michael Jordan types, right? Where the dude could play any sport, and that was his life and passion, and that was the same thing for you. So you enter college, super excited. You know you're going to play football, so you get to continue to do something that you absolutely love, while still getting the education so that you're prepared for the future. But then the unexpected happens. So tell us about that incident, that day, and what you remember, and what what it was like in the hospital and things like that after.
Yeah, well, let me rewind you a little bit before that, if I can.
Absolutely,
and
it's your show.
So like going from 18 years old, and you remember when you're 18, and it's just like the maturity that you think you have, and the level of like your awareness of what life is very different than from when you're 33 and you have 3 kids and a wife, and like it's very different now. But regardless of the accident, any man that's in his mid 30s and it's like, okay, what I thought when I was 18 was crazy. But when I was 18 and moving in and playing college and football, and it was a blast, and it was just kind of all happened at once. And I went through that spring, the first fall practice, fall camp, and everything like that, and came out where I was playing as a true freshman. And so it was a really big deal for me to be able to be on the field right away. And I was one of only two of the true freshmen, and so able to do that, and then going in from that fall, we had a really successful season, went to the Division II playoffs, tasted that, and I was really excited for the next year. And we had spring ball, and chance to bulk up and get in the weight room and everything. And honestly, I bulked up so much probably that year that I was probably one cheeseburger away from being a tackle the next year. So, I was like, in the offense that we ran, I was already a glorified tackle that, caught a couple passes a season, but us tight ends get sensitive about blocking full time, even though that's what we do. But probably that next year, I was projected as a starting tight end, but by the end of it, I just would have had a big end and ended up being a tackle. But regardless of that, looking back, that was really important, really neat for me to be able to experience it, before the fateful day of July 10th, 2004. So kind of fast forwarding up till there, I'm back in Prairie for the summer, have a summer job with the city, working there. And it was great. Like it was any typical summer. You're always on the river with your buddies. You're working during the day. You're having fun being a 19-year-old out on the weekends, everything like that. Right. And so, that weekend was no different. It was a Saturday afternoon. We had fun that Friday night, and then went out Saturday and went on the river and just hanging out. And me and my buddy Adam and my buddy Kyle, who I grew up on the same street with on Ohio Street in Prairie, we were within 5-6 blocks of each other, and best friends from middle school all the way through high school, and to this day we all stay in touch and everything. And so we're on the river. It's Kyle's grandpa's old fishing boat. So it wasn't a boat it's not a speedboat or anything like that. It was just a little crap fishing boat that we kneeboarded on, and tried to ski on the kneeboard and fished and whatever 19-year-olds do on the river, right? And so we're out there that day, and I'm just relaxed. I got my hands behind my head, enjoying the summer day. Adam's out kneeboarding, Kyle's driving, and it's just like any other day on the river. And the one thing that anyone that lives on the river knows, though, is that in the back sloughs, when we go in the back sloughs, we always did that because it was a lot less choppier for a little boat to do the kneeboarding and everything, and it was a lot smoother. And so, but everyone knows you never know really how high or low the water is and where the sandbars are and everything like that. And so Kyle accidentally hit the bottom of the river, and I flew back. It sent me flying back, and I flew back. It broke the bass fishing chair, snapped that, and then I flew back to the very front of the boat. So like I'm facing out towards the back, and I flew towards the front of the boat, hit my head, and it snapped my C6 and C7 vertebrae, bam, and was paralyzed instantly, which left me a C6 and 7 quadriplegic. And so, that day, obviously I didn't really think back on that day that if I could put myself in my shoes, my own shoes again, it's like, I have no idea what's going on. You obviously you're in an accident. My head really hurt. The severity of it was obviously, I understood that this wasn't just a broken bone, but something was serious, because I had to do like a boat to boat transfer onto the DNR boat. And then they sent me up towards the shore and into the ambulance and into the helicopter and flew me to the closest hospital in La Crosse. And so, but I had no idea what I was about to find out.
Were you awake?
After
were you
day.
awake for any of that stuff, or were you unconscious during that process?
I was only unconscious for about 30 seconds. And me, Adam, and Kyle, we all were lifeguards growing up, and they knew not to move my neck. And they had asked right away, like, "Hey, dude, can you feel your legs?" And I touched them, and they felt like I was touching Adam or Kyle's legs. And it was like, oh no, this is not good.
Yeah, so you can start to self-assess yourself almost immediately with your background before that, having been a lifeguard and trained on some medical stuff. You were able to start doing essentially a self-assessment.
Yeah. I mean, they were doing it, and then I was doing it, but at the same time, I was, in shock and the pain from I kept on telling Adam to punch me to knock me out because the pain was so bad for my head, not my neck, but my
Oh
head, because my
yeah.
head was split open to the skull, and so I was, knew something was wrong, but at the same time, freaking out about the pain. And I'm just like, but by the time I was on a helicopter, I was joking around with those guys and be like, well, my insurance company's paying this much money and I can't even see out the window. And just, I've always had just, I've always been a jokester. But throughout that day and definitely, the first couple weeks in the hospital, there was no way I knew the gravity of the situation. And at that point I probably thought, oh, they'll stitch me up and I'll be all right. And it's like those shockers that you used to get in high school football where you'd be numb for a little bit and then boom, you're good to go. Or I'd be in a chair for a couple of weeks or a month and then I'm back, playing football. And
Yeah.
which, it obviously wasn't the case for me.
Yeah, and so I read quite a few articles about you and articles that you've given quotes in and stuff. And one of my favorite quotes is how that thought of invincibility, like at 19 that you were invincible, before the incident happened, and especially like getting to D1 football and or getting to play football at the collegiate level and or being able to go for basketball, like nothing has slowed you down or stopped you in your life, and then this hits you, like a freight train essentially. Like talk about what it was like, those moments when they told you you're going to be paralyzed, you're not going to walk again, and then also talk about when it finally sunk in that was a real fact and that you weren't going to walk again, because you hear people all the time who are told that they're going to be paralyzed and they're fortunate enough to find a way to be able to walk again.
Yeah, it's crazy how the human spirit works. And I mean, talk about invincibility and then next talking about identity. And invincibility, is something any 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old man, especially males, right? And like we get the sense of pride that's just instilled in us and it's deep within us. And, you think back to your mom or dad going, don't do that, or you're going to break your neck. And it's like, yeah, sure. And then you go and do another flip off the trampoline or something like that. But it's so like going through it all. And I never had a broken finger in my high school or college career for athletics. Like maybe some like swollen ankles or like, whatever, but I've never had surgery. I never had anything really go wrong. And, right. And so like, I'm like, oh, it's just, you don't even think about that. And the biggest thing with that invincibility is that you just like, you got the world at your fingertips within your own little like 19-year-old bubble. It's like, oh, I'm playing sports, I'm doing what I want to do, and this is what I've dreamed of, and life's great. And I'll finish college and then figure it out. And then bam, July 10th, 2004 happens, and all of a sudden that identity and basically my entire identity was always in sports, and I grew up in a very right-wing conservative home. My parents raised me as a Christian, and I still have my Christian faith today, but like very, very rigid within the home. And so it was always like, God first, God first, God first. But as a 19-year-old man, like, and I grew up in youth group and everything like that, and in church, but as sports was my true identity. If I can look back and like really get real with myself, sports is who I was and I hung on every win and loss. And I hung on the identity of being on a football team or a basketball team or a baseball team and being a leader within that team. And that's what I craved. That's what I desired. That's what I love to do. And then bam, gone, door slammed right in your face. And then you have doctors saying you're not going to walk again, and you have everyone around you with worried looks on their faces, or come into your room and the first thing they start doing is crying. And then and you have and I'm trying to grasp what the hell's going on, Like,
Yeah.
what in the world is going on? Because, right away in ICU, and I can't move anything, maybe an arm. But, I've got tubes and stuff going out of every single crevice. And people coming in to check on me, and they're like, get some good sleep. And I'm like, how can I get some good sleep? You're beating on my chest every 3 hours at night, and
Yeah.
then I'm on morphine and hallucinating. And it was just a complete wreck. And I remember after about 7 to 14 days, 7 of it was ICU, and they moved me to another unit where I was more stable, right? And before I went to rehab, and I remember kind of realizing what was happening. I remember hallucinating one night because I had pressed the morphine button too much, and I thought like the balloons were nurses laughing at me, and it just kind of shook me a little bit. And I remember, and it's the only time I've ever really thought hard about it. And at the time, it didn't really matter because I was like, my body was completely useless. But I was like, I don't have any life left to live. Like, what's the point of living? What's the point of? And I don't want to sound dramatic or Disney but it's truly at that moment, it's like, I'm screwed. Like, there's nothing. This was my identity, and now it's gone, and I don't really have a backup plan. What the hell am I going to do? It's kind of like down at the core of what I was thinking. And then all of a sudden it was like, moved to rehab, and I had that thought for a second, and it was that time that I realized my faith was so important to me, and who my identity could be in, and that sometimes it's not who you are, it's whose you are for me. And so, but then after that, it was kind of like just a gut check, and we have it all the time whenever we're doing athletics. You'll probably have it when you're doing Ironman later this month or this week when you're doing it. But like, you always have that. There's always that gut check moment when you're playing a sport, and it's like, you either can do this or not. And like, the training's out the window, and it's just like, you either want to do this or not. And that's kind of what happened with me.
That's one of my favorite things is that gut check. And I love that because that's exactly what it is. Either you want to do this or not. And like, I can't imagine, because when I went on my first deployment overseas, you go through with your parents or your fiance, wife, whoever you're going to have as your power of attorney medically, if to determine to kill you, basically by pulling the cord or not. And and I remember telling my mom, like, if I don't have any legs or arms, just get rid of me. Like, I remember like having that talk before, and to know that you were only there for such a short time is remarkable. And that it does say a lot about your faith and your desire to live in that type A personality that is inside of your brain, body, and mind and soul. Is that like, I'm gonna be the best either way, and now I've just got a little bit more work to do, but I'm gonna be the best, and you can see that you have that persona, you exemplify that as a person. And I think that's truly remarkable, because in that scenario, you really have those two choices: either A, I'm going to deal with this and become the best version of myself that I can with the cards that I've been dealt, or B, I'm just going to choose to, basically walk away from this all and disappear. And so it's remarkable.
Well, and I think too, and it's worth mentioning that, and it's funny, I was having an end of year review with my strength and conditioning coordinator today, and we were talking about, how your gains aren't always linear. They're not just a straight path up. That you're going to have some dips, and those are going to help you get back up. And so it's more of like a dip, a dip, and then you're back up, and then a dip, and so that being said, it's okay to have bad days. It's okay to have, and I had to learn this the hard way, because I'm the hardest person for me to deal with is myself. And so it's like, I had to realize that there's going to be days that just suck. Like, and never once I've ever gotten up out of bed and gone, and I swear to God, I've never gotten out of bed, Will, and gone, it's my wheelchair again. I got to get in that thing again. Like, I've just never had that. maybe early on in rehab, I'm like, oh my God, I was in a power chair, so I was just driving a joystick, and I'm like, God, I'm just a big pile of bones here. Just working. But like, I've never gone, man, another day in a wheelchair. This sucks. I just don't think about it. I don't. But there are days where it's like, where my chair rolls away from my car, and I'm like, oh, and I was just, I always joke that, it's like, oh, my chair ghost righted away from me, and and he's flagged someone down, and it's like, yeah, that's my chair, I need that. But that there's quad things that happen that it's the guys and I joke a lot about with, or it's just having a quad day or whatever happens. I mean, there's some pretty terrible moments, but at the same time, you're allowed to have a bad day. Like, everyone's allowed to have a bad day, but it's how you respond to those bad days, and it's like you just string them together and say, oh, it sucks, or do you say, no, that's not who I am. That's a little speed bump. All right, let's go. And I choose to do the latter.
Dude, that's what I love is like, that speed bump thing, but like your spirit about it, like your sense of humor about it, the way that like you're still living a super happy life. Like, you look at you the whole time you're talking, and you're telling jokes and laughing. Like, there's no feeling sorry for yourself, and you can tell that even when you have a bad day, you don't feel sorry for yourself. You don't pass the blame on to somebody else. A lot of people that go through a situation like that you went through, a lot of people you see do the pity party thing.
Yeah.
And continue to feel sorry for themselves day after day after day, and never want to make the progression, never want to make life better for themselves. And I mean, you're an example that you don't have to live that pity party. You don't have to do the why me, why did this happen to me thing, but you can go out and get after it and achieve some shit. And you've done that, man. And it's so cool to like sit and get to have this conversation with you. And because
yeah, man, like,
I didn't expect to see this level of high spirited even during this conversation. It's awesome.
It's the only way to do it. And it's I mean, it's my personality, but nothing pisses me off more than victim mentality. Like that I'm just going to take this victim label. And because we live in a society that will slap them on there for you. Like, they do a great job of saying, yeah, you're this, and yep, you're that. And then sometimes our government's set up the way they're like, yeah, you're going to get this handout, and that's how you're going to live life now. And you're not going to work, or you're not going to be a productive member of society. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. No, they're like, each thing that happens to us, we get choices. And unfortunately, a lot of people choose to be a victim and have that victim mentality and be a pessimistic person. But the big thing is that I look at it, each one of those, whatever happens to you in your life, there's opportunity there. There's always opportunity. And it doesn't mean that it's just going to be given to you or handed out to you, but there's opportunity if you want to work hard and you want to have an opportunistic mindset where, oh, this happened. Okay, boom. Where's the good in it? And how can I shape this and mold this in a way that's going to work for me and my family? Or how can I, figure out a way to be a better teammate if that's the problem that's happening right now? But the choice between having that victim mindset compared to having an opportunistic mindset, I think is kind of that fork in the road for a lot of people. And unfortunately, I see a lot more of the victim mentality than I do opportunistic. Within our small disabled community, we have a lot of guys that recreationally want to play, or I'll go to hospitals and talk to guys, and I'm like, I don't care if you really like rugby. Great. If you want to play rugby, or it's like, find your passion, find what what makes you energetic. And it took me a while to figure that out, but just because I'm paralyzed doesn't mean my spirit is, doesn't mean how I'm designed didn't really go away. The use of my part of my body did, but not like the spirit within you, not your drive to do things, how you're created, your personality didn't go away. And so it sucks when guys or girls just take that victim road. That's one of the things that just irks me, and I see it too much in society, unfortunately.
Dude, I hate it. I hate it. I would like to say just as much, but I feel like you probably hate it maybe a little bit more than me, and it's potentially because you see it firsthand more often, with the things that you do to help others get past that initial struggle and things like that. And when I see it, it drives me absolutely nuts because I'm like, it's too easy to go do something. There, especially in America, like we live in a land where opportunity is abundant. Like there's opportunity everywhere. You can go out if you want to be a millionaire, you can go out and be a millionaire. There's a way to do it. If you want to play sports, you can go out and play sports. There is, you can go play bar volleyball or whatever. The opportunities are there, and with the internet and everything, you can jump on Google and you can find ways to succeed at what you want to be passionate about and what you want to succeed at. And more often than not, you see that victim mentality, and I'm like, how can you be a victim when the opportunities are everywhere? They're endless.
Yeah.
So talk about how you found out about the opportunity of rugby as a paralyzed individual, and how you kind of started on that journey, which has led you to tremendous success. We can read through the accolades of 2009 gold medal, 2010 gold medal, 2011 gold medal, and I'm reading world championships, American championships, Paralympic Games bronze medal. Like the list goes on and on and on. And I know you're getting ready from the articles I saw to go back in 2020 and represent America. But talk about how you found rugby, and then how you got so freaking good.
Yeah, so it started when I was in the hospital. My old football coach, Mel Dow, comes in and gives me a card about U.S. Paralympics, and he's like, "Hey, when you're ready, I've got some guys that I know that can get you into sports." And when you're 19 and you break your neck, and then you realize, and I was blessed to be in it. It's a weird thing. So I was in lacrosse. Gunnarsson Lutheran Hospital, and I was the only spinal cord injury unit patient there. So that really sucked for my development as being an independent quadriplegic. But I was around people that were just poured into me during that time when I needed it. Family, friends, teammates, so I was location wise, I was in an area for people to really cheer me on as I went through that stay in the hospital, 89 straight days in the hospital. And and so at the time I thought wheelchair sports, that's absolutely not. Like that is no way. The pride of a 19-year-old, and it's just like, I do not want anything to do with wheelchair sports. And those sound really lame to me. You can't compete in a wheelchair. There's no way, not with a disability. No, I got to figure something else out. Like that just wasn't going to be my plan. So I rehabbed, and then I went back home to live with my parents, and, really realized that I had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went, and this being said, like I came back to live with my parents, and I just figured out how to use a manual chair, and I could barely even push around the block without getting tired. Like I just, and just the body development and everything like that, and had lost so much muscle and everything. And so I had no idea how to live life in a wheelchair. No idea whatsoever. If I looked back, I'd have been like, "Man, you are pathetic." But it's just, then that's just the way I am. But knowing what I know now, I'm just like, get a hold of yourself, dude. And so it's, and I want to just be real here, because I think people appreciate authenticity. When I get home, it's a real wake up call for a 19-year-old to have his mom wipe his ass and take care of me and calf me and shower me, and not only for my mom to like see me, like to be just real, like you're laying there naked on a bed and your mom's looking at you. It's so bizarre. It's such a bizarre thing to go through, probably for my mom too, because now as a parent I'm going, wow, that must have really sucked for her. Like I can't imagine how she was feeling. I didn't care at the time, because if I was ever having a bad day, I'd take it out on my mom. And so Unfortunately, I'd apologized for many times, but kind of painting the picture that it was just, I was so far removed from that invincible 19-year-old. I was just at the time, just like struggling, and what in the hell am I going to do? I can't even go to the bathroom by myself. Like, how am I going to go back to school? How am I going to do anything? But I remember going, okay, I've got to get out of my mom's house. Like, this is not working out. As much as like the community rallied and built me a little apartment right onto my parents' house. And, it was really great, but I think I was just going in a downward spiral living at my parents again. And I needed to get detached from having that helpline where I could just press the mom button and she'd come and help me out, and that definitely wasn't going to be healthy boundaries for me. And so I went back to Winona in that year and helped out with football. And, they hooked me up with like, hey, you can kind of help coach football. And they were really great with just kind of keeping me a part of the team. And at the time, all the guys were like, man, we're just so inspired by you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what? Like, guys, you don't have no idea what's going on, but I am not inspirational. I'm not like, I'm kind of just pathetic at this point. And that was kind of the mindset I had at the time. And going back and coaching made me realize, whoa, I was not ready to like watch my teammates do what I just did 2 years ago. I'd taken that full year off and I'm back there and I'm seeing it. And it's like taking yourself out of your body, you stick yourself in a wheelchair and you're rolling around looking what you used to do. But you can't do it. It's like taking a kid through a candy store and saying you can't have any candy. Like you're not allowed. You're physically unable to eat candy. You can't have any.
Yeah, which is almost impossible.
Yeah. I've taken my kids there. Absolutely not. And yeah, they're addicted to sugar, so there's no way. And so I go, wow, this isn't working out for me. But what happened at the end of that year was I started to realize that I had that competitive fire, being back near the football field. And I knew, man, like, I want to go out there and rip someone's head off. Like or if someone misses a block, it's like, dude, like, and so it's, I think that kind of, were the jumper cables to starting that fire up and again, and realizing that not even just starting it, that it never left. That spirit, that competitive fire, that innate who we are, the way God created us to be, it never left. And I think the cool part for me was if I didn't go back to Winona that year, I probably never would have found that out. And so going back there, finding that out, I went to a practice in the cities. I emailed the guys. So all I did for rugby was looked up online what sports quadriplegics could play. I had no idea because I didn't want to be around anyone in a wheelchair before. So I was like, I was basically starting over day one. Like I had no idea how to be in a wheelchair. I had no idea what wheelchair sports were. And so I looked up and I saw wheelchair rugby. What the hell is this? So I told my girlfriend, now wife at the time, hey, we should definitely go up and check this sport out. We'll go up and watch it and everything. And so we went up there and I had the only expectation I had was to watch it. And so I got up there and they're like, hey dude, get in a chair. And I'm like, get in a chair. I can't even brush my teeth, let alone get in a rugby chair. Like, what the hell am I going to do in a rugby chair, man? And they're like, now get in one. And I got in this chair and it was literally, they pulled out a closet. It must have been from like 1985, but it was just, it was a complete piece of junk. Jumped in it. Like the wings were all looked like a shark's mouth because it was so beat up. And I did not jump in it. I had like this long transfer board because I didn't know how to transfer or get out myself anywhere. And then my wife did all the heavy lift, or my girlfriend at the time my wife now did all the heavy lifting and plopped me in this chair. And from that minute, boom, like you push around and it's like you're not even in a chair. You're pushing around and everyone else is pushing around, but you're competing against people. And I saw that the game flowed just like a game would in basketball or football or hockey or say, and then bam, someone came and hit me. And I'm like, oh hell yeah, let's go. And so that was my first practice, and so like they did wind sprints at the end. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing wind sprints. And that was kind of my first taste of rugby. And from where I am now to that day is night and day. Like, you'd probably look at pictures and be like, no, that's not the same person. Because after my injury, I'd ate like I was still a football player, and gaining weight. And so like I got up to about 285 pounds. Was what I weighed probably at that first practice, and realized that probably wasn't going to work out very well to be a wheelchair rugby player and be that heavy. And so that's that was the whole first taste of rugby for me.
So what do you weigh now?
Now, so through the years, I knew right away setting goals and stuff like that. So now I weigh about anywhere from 200. I've been down to like 193, but anywhere from right now 200 to 210. And I'd say like my best weight for competitions around 205 to 210.
Yeah, so down like over 70 pounds from when you were.
Yeah.
So that says a lot too, just about that willpower to succeed, because that takes discipline. Because we all love cheeseburgers, especially in Wisconsin, like cheeseburgers, side of fries, give me some cheese curds, for an appetizer. But like that takes, and I tell people this all the time. I'm like, nutrition oftentimes takes more discipline than actually being good at the physical activity. So like that had to be a huge journey for you to transition from, that bulking football player mentality to, I want to go faster in the chair, and that requires me to lose some weight and build some arm strength. So that had to be a huge transition, both, obviously the way you work out because of the physical limitations now, but also like looking at the nutritional piece.
Yeah, no, I mean, looking back, nutrition was the only reason I lost weight. I mean, it's being a quadriplegic, and your big muscle groups are your biceps and triceps, right? And then your scaps and everything. But like we don't have the luxury of turning out the legs and turning out the miles and losing weight, dropping weight easily. And so it took about 4 years, 3 to 4 years, probably 3 years to cut the weight in a healthy way, not just stop eating and lose weight, and then all of a sudden it's just gain right back because you don't do it the right way. This wasn't just like a biggest loser competition. This is me trying to figure out a lifestyle choice that would work. But it was still pretty drastic. It was about 1,500 calories a day for 2-3 years and it just takes a long time to lose weight while you're sitting in a chair. It's just, our losing, we've been tested on how many calories you'd burn just sitting there, right? The metabolic rate. And it's like maybe 1,500, 1,600. Like, it's just, you're not losing a calorie sitting here. And so, it took a long time, and it sucked, obviously, because I love to eat, and I love sweets, and I love ice cream, and I love beer, and I love candy, and I love all of it. But it was just a huge choice of, and from there it was, now I'm living more of the 80-20, but from there it was like 90-10, like this needs to happen. And it was over the course of, it wasn't 8-month change. It was a couple of years, 2-3 years to figure out.
And that, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, that victim mentality of feeling sorry for yourself. So many people, you see it all the time, people who start a diet for a week and then get off of it, and they're like, I'm just not, genetically gifted to be skinny, and so I'll never be skinny, and they feel sorry for themselves. But you just said, like, that journey took you 3 years to get there, and that's what I tell people, like, don't expect the results to happen tomorrow. It's years down the road. You didn't, your first championship or gold medal was in 2009 that I could research or whatever, which was the America's Championships, and the injury happened in 2004. That's 5 years of hard work to get there, and that goes back to the whole thing that we're talking about is like, if you have that optimistic attitude and that positive attitude, and you put in the work, you're gonna get that result. And I think that's awesome. I'm super glad you touched on it the way that you did. I've legitimately been writing down time slots of like things that you've said that I'm like, damn, I can't wait to go back and re-listen to this part,
Yeah.
because of how powerful it is. And like right now I'm trying to stick on this clean diet for Ironman for like 4 weeks just so I can get to the weight that I want. And this is a 4 week diet, and I'm struggling with it. You know, and then you hear stories about yourself where you stuck to it for 3 to 4 years to get the result that you wanted. And you're up against something much harder than I'm up against. So, I think that's huge for people that are out there listening to this that are struggling with wanting to, have this healthier lifestyle and lose a couple of pounds, or a significant amount of weight like you did, is that you gotta just stay focused and stick to it, and stop doing the victim thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's a couple things that come to mind when we talk about that. And when I talk to people, it's the biggest goal was when I first had the goal of being on the national team, was like, okay, I want to make the national team. And that in 2009, I was on the training team, and I actually didn't go to that championships in Buenos Aires in 2009 for that gold medal. I got cut right before it. And I still wasn't at a weight that I needed to be at. And I still wasn't at a place where I needed to be at as an athlete. But 2012 was always the big goal that I had for 2012 Paralympics. But within that, it wasn't just looking at that goal and running wild for 4 years. It was looking at that goal and going, okay, what smaller goals do I need to set up here to be able to achieve this bigger goal? Because I think that's where a lot of people go, I want to lose 100 pounds. Okay, great. That's awesome. Like, good for you. That's great for setting a goal. But it's like, how are you going to do it? What steps are you taking to do it? What smaller goals are you doing it? What smaller victories are you going to allow yourself to have, so then it gives you the motivation to continue? Because people fall off the wagon 1 month in, 2 months in, because they go, oh, 1 month, like 5 pounds, that's it. But they don't see that, number one, they could have gained, they don't even look at their body composition for that month. They could have just gained 5 pounds of muscle like in a month, or they could have, they don't see that for that month. They just changed their entire course of their life because they made a choice to start eating right as a lifestyle and not just as, some internet diet they found. And so setting those small goals up and allowing yourself to celebrate those small goals, I think, are really, really important, with also keeping that bigger goal in mind. But so mine, after 2009, I got cut. I was really pissed off. I was like, I should have been on that team. My wife, April, and I, we got married in 2007, really young, but my wife, April, and I are like, I go, a guy calls me up, Nick Springer calls me up. He played in 2008 Beijing Paralympics. They won gold. That's where I fell in love with rugby. When I remember watching them run around. I remember watching them celebrate their gold medal and going, I want that experience. I want to be there one day. I want that stage. I want to do it. And that was why I was eating Cheetos and sucking down a Coke. I had no idea what it was going to take yet. Right. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so Nick Springer calls me up, and I had no idea who he was. And he's actually, funny or not, so if you ever, got your arms blown off, fighting overseas, that's him. So he's cut off he got meningitis when he was 14, and they took everything up to here, so basically below the elbow, before the wrist, gone on both sides, and then above the knee amputation. Right. So he looks like a gummy bear. I always tell him to dress up as a Haribo gummy bear for Halloween. And he'd get all the ladies, but he never does it. But he great guy. One of my favorite teammates, and we won a lot of things together. But he calls me up and he's like, hey, come move to Phoenix, and we're starting this team in Phoenix. And then Scott Hogsett, who ended up being the biggest mentor I've had in the sport, is going to coach us and play with us and, mentor you, train you, whatever. And so we were living in St. Paul at the time. We had bought a house, we're like, all right, what's next? Whatever, I'll play rugby recreationally because it was, something that's an outlet for me. And then watched the Beijing Paralympics. And then Nick calls and I'm like, honey, what do you think about moving to Phoenix? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. And 3 months later, we were driving across country from Minneapolis to Phoenix.
That's crazy.
Moving there to pursue the goal I had. And so it's when I think about goals and people are like, man, that goal seems so hard. And that goal, and all these goals are dreams until you start putting work into it. My kind of motto, if I have a motto, would be words. Words are really important. We need words. It's kind of a WWW. Words are really important, but words are nothing unless you don't put in the work in. And you're never going to win until you have those words, the work, and then you get the win. And so that's kind of my big thing, where it's like, it's not this easy, fast process. And with the internet and with the society we live in, everyone wants it now. We want that streaming. I mean, can you imagine watching TV shows that weren't streamed, where you couldn't binge watch them? Boom, 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 and get done with it. And then It's like, you have to wait, what?
Yeah.
Or you have to put some work in. And so people shy away from work, and it's like, oh yeah, I've got this goal, and it's, what are you doing about it? Oh, that's just a dream then, because if you don't have anything attached to that, then that's not a goal. Like that's just you throwing a dream up on the board. And so that was a big turning point for us, was moving down to Phoenix, but completely detaching ourselves from our families and everything that we knew, and kind of leaving that old Joe life behind. I think it was very important for me to get away from everything I knew, the comfort of being in the Midwest, the comfort of knowing that people were around to take care of me, the comfort of always having family to lean on. And April and I just went out there with our dog, and we knew nobody. I think she had one college friend that we knew. Other than that, like, we're just going out there, and I have this goal.
Dude, first, kudos to your wife. Like, that is
she's a rock star. Like, there's no like story of me without April. She's talk about inspirational. She was 19 at the time as well. We'd only been dating for a year, right? Like right after a month after we met in high school, but a month left of high school, and then through that summer, and then the next, and we're 19, and I break my neck, and she never once thought about leaving, and she was there 89 days in the hospital, and there through everything. And she's always been that type of person that goes, I always joke, is she always jokes, and I don't think it's a joke from her. I just kind of joke, I'm like, haha, you're not going to do it. But if I'm being a complete jerk, then she's just like, I'm going to tip you out of your chair and steal a wheel and leave. Like, you're not going to get away with that. And that's exactly what I need. She's always pushed me and always encouraged me. And so, like, to have a life partner like that, I don't deserve her. And she's the best. So, I mean, there's no story, there's nothing within my story if there's not her along with me.
Yeah, like her story is, equally as remarkable. Like, just the way that she is, endless support and helped you to, as you put it, take your dream and put it from just the words to the work, and in the end coming out with the results, the desired results. And she deserves the shout out, because she's been, that's a remarkable human being. And I from only hearing about her in the short time that we've been recording this podcast, she deserves every bit of the credit that you just gave her, and it is remarkable to see that from human beings, and you don't see that often enough in this society. And that, like, I'm super proud, and please pass it on.
Yeah,
that's
remarkable. Absolutely. Yeah, we call her, she's a quiet individual with it, but inside the spirit's loud, right? And so, like, we always call her the silent assassin, because she's just sitting in the background, and we'll get you every once in a while. But anyways, but yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Moving forward, yeah.
So the one big thing that I wanna touch on is that dreams. Because, like, I've had plenty of dreams in my life, and I hear people all the time dreaming about it. And it's exactly what you just said, Joe. All they got to do is start to put in the work. It's not easy. It took years to lose the weight. It took years to make one of the U.S. teams, and to go compete on the world stage. Like, that shit didn't happen overnight. Some of the big things that I've achieved in my life took years of work. Like, when I broke the world record, that took 17 months of hard work, from a dream to execution. And so many people, exactly like you said, in this society, they are 100% under the impression that this is going to happen for me next week or the week after. And I was absolutely guilty of it. With the world record, I thought I was going to break it at the next race. I have carried a pack.
Yeah.
I'm going to go break this world record. And then the first time I actually, made an attempt at it, it was an epic failure. I didn't even make it to the corner before I turned around and went back and was like, this is fucking stupid and impossible. And it took me 2 weeks to go from that invincible feeling to finding my identity. And that I actually did have the willpower and the work ethic to get the result. And that was really, that was one of the few moments in my life that I can look back and reflect on and say this was a turning point in my life, mentally, physically, emotionally, where I found out that there's nothing in life that is going to break me. So, talk about that once for a minute, that unbreakable mentality, and kind of like how you would define yourself as being unbreakable, or what the word means to you, having been what you've been through.
Yeah, I think when I hear the word unbreakable and I'm going, what's that look like for me, and what do I think about when I hear it, and a lot of times I'm thinking, man, I don't even know if I tend to be on the more humble side. I don't like to brag, and I've been a captain for 5 years on the national team, and I like to worry. I like to pour into other people, right? And but when I think about it, right at first, I'm like, man, that's not me. That's not I'm just trying to do life, right? And at the core of it, that's kind of what unbreakable is. The will to pick up your pieces, whatever work, don't work, whatever ones you have, don't have, whatever are paralyzed, not paralyzed, and say, all right, let's do it. And I think that's where the unbreakable part comes in, that you're willing to say, this isn't the end for me. Are you willing to say, no, my life's worth living? Or you're willing to say, I owe it to myself to put in this work, whatever the goal or ambition would be. And with that, it's that failure piece. And failure, I hate losing, but love failure because I call it, there's winning and there's learning. Because if you went out and you would have broke that, you would have carried your 100-pound sack and broke the Ironman right away and been like, I broke the record right away. I'm the biggest badass ever, right? And it's you didn't learn anything from it. What'd you learn? And then, so for me, and it's you get cut, and then you get cut again, and then you have another little tryout, and then all of a sudden I find myself on the World Championships team in 2010, going, how in the hell did I get here? But it's the willing to look failure in the eyes and say, great, let's learn from it. Let's learn. Because a lot of times when we win right away, you don't look at the blemishes. You're not going in with a fine tooth comb and looking at what you can do better. When you win by one, it's oh, we kicked their ass. It's great. When you lose by one, all of a sudden it's you're worthless, and we need to break up this team and figure out a new team. And it's the way we look at the scoreboard watching is, and in some ways it's just terrible, because we look at that as our identity instead of looking at what we've accomplished without looking at just a scoreboard, because that one win or one loss doesn't define who you are as a team or as an athlete or as a coach, a player, whatever. And but I think failure is really important because we get to learn from that. Or you have the choice to. You can take that victim road and do that, or you get to say, this is an opportunity for me to look at myself in the mirror and get better, and demand that from my players as a leader, and demand that from my coaches as a leader, and demand that from everyone around me. And I think that's where the unbreakable spirit comes in. It's not this just glorified word to call me or anything like that, but I think it's the choices that you make define that unbreakable spirit that you have in you, that I think I instill.
Dude, that's an incredible definition. The big thing I wrote down immediately is that winning and learning, because I I much like yourself was a winning child growing up, right? I did well in sports, or well enough to make the varsity team, and I made the varsity team my freshman year of high school and for wrestling. So like, I was good enough,
Yeah.
and therefore I didn't learn, and it wasn't until I got my face mopped across the mat my freshman year by seniors and juniors that were significantly better than me on other teams, that I finally started to learn something. But I was too young and immature yet to understand that fact, that I was actually starting to learn something and be able to grasp it and turn it into positive use for myself. And so I think what happened to you at 19 made you mature much faster than a normal individual would at 19 years old, because I didn't start to mature probably until I was like 27 years old, before I really started to mature and understand that, hey, these failures and losses are actually learning points. And so it's awesome that you bring that up, because nobody's brought that up yet on the podcast, myself included. And I think that is a huge fact, is that you have to stop looking at failure as the end of the road and have that victim mentality, but rather look at it as, hey, I can learn from this, and because I can learn from it, I can take and utilize it to make me better moving forward, which is obviously what you did, because you didn't just make the team, you became a captain eventually. Like, that's beyond significance, because that puts you as, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the best player on the team, and maybe you are, but what it means is you're the best leader on the team.
Yeah, that's a hell of a title. Of any accomplishments that I've had throughout the years, and you look at individual awards and everything like that, or what the team's done, and I think what I gravitate towards is, did we get better as a team throughout that given year? Because each team's a little different. And then also, like, did I pour into these guys? I think it's an opportunity to be able to, and you've been through experiences that I can't even fathom. And my brother was in the infantry and did tours, and I can't even fathom the camaraderie you have when you are literally at war. And so I haven't had that, but I know that you, like, especially for a team dynamic, you can't really get anything done. And I'm not really going to compete that hard for you unless I have some emotional attachment to you. And people, and I throw around the word love a lot. With the guys, that kind of spooks them out, because it's like, like, we're all quadriplegics, we're all kind of hardened, and you get hardened to disability. A lot of people are kind of salty, like, and I'm like, dude, we gotta love each other. And they're like, what the heck? Shut up. Like, what? No, but like, if you truly care about the person next to you, it's easier for you to do your job. It's easier when you're away from them and you're accountable when no one's watching. It's like, I'm going to do this because I know damn well that my teammate over there is working just as hard or harder than I am, and I can't show up and let him down. And I think that's, my biggest thing, to where it's like, I think it's really important to be able to do, as within those team dynamics, is have that attachment, healthy, and boundaries and everything like that. But, it's that connection where you connect to them on not just a level of like, hey, we're on a team together.
Dude, I couldn't agree more with that emotional attachment, because you end up starting things with people that you don't know or you don't care for, because you read their bio and you just didn't care for them, or you got some bad thing, and all too often we judge somebody before we meet them, and that's just the way that I feel like we've been overprogrammed that way in society and things like that. And then as you start to build that relationship and you see their work ethic and how much that they start to care for you, you start to care back for them, and that just accelerates what the two of you are able to do together, and as you do that with a team. And that's why I can tell already that you are a phenomenal captain and a phenomenal leader of your team, because of the personality that you've exuded over the last hour here, is that deep care and compassion for the people around you, and the fact that you just want to make everybody better, a better contributing member to society, to their neighborhood, to their community, better to, their friends and family. So I can only imagine the type of, husband and father that you are as well, and the care and compassion that you put into that, because you can I've been around good leaders and bad leaders through the military. The Army is one of the places where you're going to get to experience more leadership than anywhere else in the world, because they change out your leadership every week, it seems like.
Yeah.
And so it now takes me seconds to realize if a person is a good leader or not. And you exude every single quality that is in a good leader, where you take, full ownership of the team and your responsibilities within that team. And I think that's phenomenal. I want to commend you for that, because there are not enough good leaders in this world, and you need to know that what you are doing is the right thing, and you need to stay to that, because it's amazing, and I can see it, and it's freaking awesome. It gives me chills when I get the opportunity to talk to people that I know are good leaders. And like I said, I've sat over here taking notes. Like I have a page full of notes of different like timestamps that I want to go back, because they're solid leadership pieces that I want to take back to my platoon and teach my platoon. And one thing that I'm gonna cover, and some of the guys from my platoon listen to this podcast, so you guys are gonna hear plenty about this winning and learning thing. Because in the military, there's a lot of times where we fail little tasks, and we need to learn from them quickly, so we can succeed in combat, and that is a huge thing. And then the other big piece that I'm going to talk to them about is that opportunity, and taking advantage of the opportunities when they're here in front of us, regardless of what's behind us. Yeah. So I mean, that's awesome stuff. So there's one other thing I want to talk about before we get into the what's next, and that is what it's like to compete in the Paralympic Games, because that's as high as it gets, Like, I mean, it's the Olympics. Like, what's that stage like, and what's it like to, you've been there now twice, right? In 2012 and 2016.
So I was there in 2012. I was an alternate for Rio in 2016, and I think it's worth telling us a little bit of the story about Rio.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think it's a big part of who I am after the fact of Rio. But talking about 2012 and being in the Paralympics, and it was amazing. Like, it was from 2010, when it was like, I was the 12th man on the team and got limited playing time, but happy to be there kind of thing. But like, I wanted to work hard, and I wanted to compete to be on the court. But at that time, that was my role on the team. And so I wanted to do as best as I could. And then 2012 rolls around, and we had the dream team of wheelchair rugby. It was the best team the U.S. has probably ever had as far as talent goes. But I would say our chemistry wasn't great. Like, there was almost too much competition on the team, where it was detrimental to where there's that little bit of gap room within a team complex where you don't want to have like really good chemistry, because then you're like, oh, there's probably not much competition. Guys are way too comfortable, and you're not getting each other better, to having way too much competition. Everyone hates each other. And so it was probably more on that end. But we get into the Canada game semifinals. It was amazing. So like just before that, our first game was against Great Britain. Obviously, they were the hosts in London 2012. So there's like 13,000 standing room only. I mean, I'm used to playing in like middle school gyms, playing wheelchair rugby, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into like the biggest crowd you've ever seen, and it's 13,000, GB fans just going crazy. And then for a minute, when I first got on the court in the end of the first quarter, and it was like everything just stopped, and I'm just staring. And then Scott wasn't on the court with me at the time. He's like, "What are you doing? Let's go!" And like, I was, shake my head, like, "All right, let's go." And then from there, it was whatever. You get used to it. And but it was just, everything was the opening ceremony and the queens in the crowd, and like it's insane. There's also, it's just an insane amount of disability. I've never seen so many disabilities in my life. It was to the point where like during our downtime, we'd like check out the Paralympic village, and we'd play the would you rather game. Would you rather have their disability or our disability? Go through that. Like, those are the games you play, which is actually kind of fun. And I'm sure everyone else does it too, but it's just, it's bizarre. It's amazing. It's great. It was great. Except for we choked. So we're playing Canada. We're in the first quarter. Our games, I don't know if you've watched any games, but our games are one score at a time. There's no 3-pointers. You can't come back from, down 17 in 4 minutes, right? Like, It's only one goal at a time. And so we got down we absolutely just crapped the bed in the first quarter, down by 9 in the first quarter, down by 9.
Damn.
Like a 5-point loss is kind of a blowout in our sport, like on the very competitive level. Top tier elite teams, like 5 points the blowout. Down by 9 in the first quarter. It's our rival Canada. And then we fight back. And I was part of a line that got 10 turnovers and 20 possessions. We fight all the way back to tie it. And then we're going to score to go up 1. And we turn the ball over. They end up scoring to win the game. And the next day we win bronze. But just absolute heartbreak to where you crap the bed, you scratch and claw and fight all the way back, and then lose. And it sucked. And so for a long time over the years, people are like, oh, you know, grandmas are like, oh, you won bronze. That's so great. Oh, 3rd place in the Paralympics. And I just wanted to tell them to go fly a kite, you know, like it just like, it's and it's probably other choice words, but it's just like, you don't understand how bad this literally bronze looks like dirt or crap to me. Like it's just, and so I hated it for a long time. And over the years, I've realized how rare it is to actually have a medal from the Paralympics or Olympics, and how much to cherish it. And especially kind of moving into the Rio side. So like 2013, I was a captain for the first time. 2014, we are in World Championships, and we ended up losing to Canada again in the semifinals, and I was a captain of that team. 2015, a captain again. We ended up losing to Canada again in the championship of Toronto Parapans. In 2016, it was a coaching decision. A couple of coaches just said no to me for Rio. And I knew I probably had a long shot with it, and I tried out anyway. And unfortunately didn't make it. And at that point, it was again a victim mentality or opportunistic, because I struggled with it for a long time. It was honestly that at that point in my career, it was almost harder for me to get through that than it was to break my neck, because again, the identity that I had and set was completely slammed in my face again. And I'm like, I'm not going to Rio. They ended up going to win silver. But they took away my captain's role, and which was of anything so hard for me. But it was the opportunity to show my teammates how I'd react. I had been a captain already for 2013, 14, 15, and now in 2016, I wasn't a captain. I probably wasn't going to make the team, even though I might have deserved to. But I had a choice to come to every camp, compete as hard as I could. I was in the best shape of my life. I did 2-a-days for 3 straight months. Just so I knew after the end of the day, if I got cut, it wasn't because I didn't put the work in, I didn't put the effort in. And so I get cut in 2016, and it was a low. It was a huge low for me. And I was so mad. I was so angry. And I turned into that victim. I'm like, this is complete BS. This is absolutely wrong. And no matter, and that's internalizing everything and telling people that are very close to me. And some people that were close to me, I just shut them off. Like my identity is gone. And now what, like all these people that quote unquote think I'm inspirational and I get cut or whatever, you know, like, and it sucks. And, but that summer, I think I did my best job being a captain without being a captain, because every single time I was there, I was competing as hard as I could, and I was positive and encouraging my teammates that were going to go. And being on scout team, the very last camp, we do the jersey ceremony, and I don't get a jersey. I'm just sitting there watching everyone get their jerseys for Rio. And then we go back, and we had like 3 days left, and I was on scout team the entire time, and, you know, and played my absolute balls off. And I think during that time, I think I proved to myself and proved to my teammates that no matter what, man, I don't need a title. You don't need a title to be a good leader. You don't need a title to be a good teammate. You don't need a title to make the right choice as either a victim or an opportunist. And I think that was probably the hardest, but the most career-defining moment I had. And so, it's just it was a hard decision. It wasn't one of those where it's like la di da di da, I'm gonna go do this. No, I was so mad and I was so pissed, but you make that choice over a couple weeks, and it was just, and I think I recalibrated my balance in life and understanding that, okay, once again, like, your family is important, your faith's important, your kids are important, but you find identity elsewhere just in being a rugby player, and it's made me all the more better going forward in 2017, 2018. Again, we lost World Championships this last week. We lost to Japan. It was probably the worst game I've ever been a part of. I played extremely well, which is kind of weird for me to say because I'm usually the hardest on myself, but played extremely well. But we had just a couple guys that didn't have their best games, and Japan beat us. We were number 2, and then they beat Australia, that was number 1 and won Worlds. And so, hats off to them. But again, going into 2020, it's just, all right, winning and learning, and this is really hard because it's like deja vu over and over and over again. But what do you do when the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting the same result? And so it's like, how do we get better now? What do we do? So I'm excited. I'm excited for 2019 and 2020 to come and see how that goes. So I think me leaving that story out and being like, oh, I was just an alternate, whatever, I think is probably not fair to myself and my story and my career and how it's going. So.
No, I'm super glad you told it, because it's a remarkable story of the choice again that you're left with, and I think that's been one of the key themes of this podcast, is that you always have those two choices. One, rise above, or the other option, be the victim, and sometimes we go down that victim route, but then it's how fast can we identify that we're being a victim, and how fast can we change it? And you did that, and that is why I think, like, right now that, and you said it best yourself even, is that you're a much better captain today than you were when you were actually a captain, or you're a much better captain when you weren't a captain than you were when you were actually assigned the captain role, which just says, like, how much that decision and actually being a victim for a little while, how much that brought on your own personal development, and how you've now become a better captain. And I would assume once you're done actually playing, I would assume you're probably going to go into some sort of a coaching role, because you've got the mentality to be a great coach, I think, with your personality and the way that you learn, evolve, and treat other individuals on the team and around the sport. You can just tell, like, you would be a phenomenal coach if that's the route that you choose, whether it be in wheelchair sports or your own kids sports, because I'm sure, like, you've got to be getting excited to watch your kids take on sports. Knowing your personality has got to live inside of them.
Yeah, it's a whole new ball game, and I have to wait a little bit to coach them, because they're like, I coach my kids are 6'4" and 2 boys and then our little girl, and Braxton, my oldest, was 4 at the time, and I started coaching his t-ball team, and I'm just way too intense for t-ball, and it's just like it's I'm like, yeah, okay, all right, well, little Johnny's over there eating dirt, and his face looks like he just had a chocolate bar. I'm like, what? No, I can't. No, but no, it'll be really exciting to watch them develop, and to help foster their growth, their maturity, and how they look at goals and how they accomplish things. And it's a big theme at our house already, putting the work in. And but it's t-ball is a big no, but
I'm sure I'll be the same way, because it's that personality, it's that that desire to win, that I'm not satisfied without achieving the results that I set out to achieve. And so I'm sure it'll be the same way, or very similar, when I have kids, of like wanting them to achieve the results that they set out to achieve, that you hold them a little bit more accountable, instead of being like, everybody gets an award. It's like, hey, you get an award when you worked for it, and you didn't work for it. You showed up on competition day. That doesn't warrant an award. Like, if you put in the work leading into competition day, great. You deserve it, and you'll prosper because of it.
Well, we can have a whole nother podcast on the state of youth sports right now, and not keeping score, like not teaching kids how to win and lose, like that. What?
Yeah.
And so like that's where, and I was never a wrestler. And honestly, I'll put my kids in wrestling because I want to teach them about humility. And there's no other sport like wrestling where you're on the mat by yourself. You're going to get smeared or you're going to win. And I think my kids might be crying a little bit right away, but we'll see what happens. So they're going to be doing that this winter, and I'm really excited for them to kind of learn some life lessons out on the mat. But
yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm beyond excited to definitely have you back on the podcast, because we've got so many things that I want to talk about, but and we'll leave that for the future so everybody gets these cliffhangers. But we're definitely going to come back and talk about some of the ways that sports are today, and the ways that they, that we feel they should be, to better develop people to go be more successful as we move forward in life. But the last question I wanna ask you is, what's next? So you've got all this stuff. I know you still don't have a Paralympic gold medal, but so what's next? Where are you headed? What's the next dream?
Yeah. So that's literally, it's amazing. I've been so blessed to be able to be around people that have, from the time in our podcast where you mentioned my wife, April, and our families and everyone around us, and then Nick and Scott down in Phoenix that were able to help mentor me and foster me and coach me and kind of form how I am as a player and the level of smarts I have in the game. And then, with the U.S. national team and Coach Gumby and Mandy Goff and all those guys. But anyway, that's the last thing on the list. Like if you're playing a video game, you have the checklist. Like, it's amazing that I'm at the stage, and that's literally the only thing that I haven't been able to accomplish, that we haven't as a team, I should say. It's not an I thing, but and so that's 2020. But right now, I'm 33, and so I'm not getting any younger, and I know the big thing for me is I've been asking myself lately, what's next and what am I going to do? And so, it's funny, the timing of this podcast, like right now, I'm really wanting to get more into the speaking world and get more into whether it's school, churches, youth groups, businesses, doing talks and talking to people and spreading the story. And I truly believe like my story isn't just something morphed out of nothing. Like, it's there for a reason. It's meant to be told. And I think people that have these stories out there, they don't realize how valuable they are being heard. And that's something that I don't want to keep it in the closet. I don't want it to be like too humble to where I'm not doing due justice to what I've been through and what I've been able to accomplish over the last 14 years. And so that's kind of the what's next for me. So I'm getting help building a website and kind of getting more visibility through that, and through speaking, and through being able to just kind of spread the word and share my story, and share my journey through faith, through rugby, through being a family guy, and rock and rolling.
Dude, as soon as you have the website up, let me know, and I will share it out to all of the Forever Unbreakable listeners, so you guys can all go on. And if you know a business or school or church group or anything like that is looking for an amazing speaker, dude, I am sure you crush it. So I'm super glad that is the road that you're headed down, because one of my big things is that inspiration of others, and getting people to take the next steps in their lives to go out and achieve whatever it is that they dream of, whether it be, financial wealth and stability, or, being successful in sports, or getting into, whatever it is. So I was really hoping that you were going to go down the speaking road with everything that I've read, because I didn't read anything about you going down that road yet. But especially after talking to you, man, you will have the greatest impact on the most amount of people by doing that. And I think that is freaking awesome and remarkable. And the only other thing I'm going to throw out there for you that I think you should do at some point is start your own podcast with a bunch of the guys that you've had the opportunity to play with, because their stories are also absolutely remarkable. And if you want to get any of them onto Forever Unbreakable, just let me know, and
Awesome.
I will gladly help get their story out there as well, because I think a lot of them have stories like you do, where they hit that point and they had the choice, either, end my life or go be successful, and they went out and pushed and worked for years and years and years and years to get those results. So that is a stupid awesome what's next. Paralympics gold is stupid awesome as well, but I think the fact that you're going to go out and use what happened to you and what you did for yourself to become successful to help others, I think is the greatest thing an individual can do, because that is you helping the world and causing positive change that doesn't happen often enough. So
yeah. I think just ending with, what I realized after the Rio debacle, and what I realized after my accident, and what I realized every time you fail and you think, man, that was it. That was the only thing that I was, doing. And we're selling ourselves short too much. Like, Paralympic gold is, that's what I want. I want it. I desire it. I want to work for it. I want to do the work to put in it the next 2 years and get it. But if that's what I hang my hat on and say, yep, all right, job finished, I'm done, let's just go right off in the sunset, then I think I've lost touch in what really matters. And so, it's just like, and I would think you're kind of along the same thought process, but it's like, okay, now what? Like, and I like the what's next type of question, where it's like, no, you can't, like, don't rest on your laurels. Like, there's no, like, that doesn't get you anywhere. And that ends up probably taking you down the victim road, then more so than it does the opportunistic road. And so, no, I'm really excited about it, and going gold and then rock and roll with speaking, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love it. I'm gonna stay tuned, and like I said, I definitely want to get you back on here. And as soon as you're up and running on the speaking stuff, please send it over to me so I can blast it out to everybody. So all you guys listening, just stay tuned to the Facebook, Instagram, stuff like that, and we'll get it out to you all. Plus, I'm sure I'll say it in one of the videos as soon as I know about it. So that's awesome. That's all I got. You got anything else you want to put out to any of the people listening to the podcast?
No, thank you. Thanks for listening. If you have questions or feedback or comments or concerns, or want to have me out for a speaking opportunity, hit Will up and he'll let me know. But I really appreciate you having me on and the opportunity to be on. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe, man. And I'm sure you guys can hit him up through Instagram, Facebook, and all that stuff as well. So, but please reach out to me, and I will definitely get you in touch. And I'm actually going to reach out to a couple companies that I know where I've spoken in the past for upcoming events for you. So that's awesome. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Forever Unbreakable. Stay unbreakable, and remember, failure, change it from failure to learning. All right, move forward. Stay unbreakable. Thanks for tuning in. We're out.